Hello! Looks like we're live. I haven't done one of these on YouTube in a while, so I'm excited to be here with you guys. Looks like we've already got some folks hanging out. Got some eight people here. We've got Nevin. We've got Lee. How's it going, you guys? What's happening? Everybody staying out of trouble so far? I got my cup of coffee. We're going to have some fun here. We're going to talk about artificial light. Now, I'm just curious, how many of you here? Oh, hey, what's up, Brenda from Calgary, Canada? How many of you here already shoot artificial light? Just let me know in the comments if you already do, just because I'm curious to know. Hello, looks like everybody's showing up. So I wanted to talk about artificial light because this is something I get a lot of questions about because especially if you follow me on Instagram. Hey, we got folks from Dubai, from Texas. Hey, Claudia. Hi, Denise. Alessandra, welcome. Man, I'm curious too, because I've got to think it's pretty late probably in Dubai. I know it's 9 a.m. here, so that makes it probably noon on the East Coast and then probably the evening time over in the UK. But anyway, so we're going to talk about artificial light today. Because if you follow me on Instagram, which I'm recognizing a lot of the names here, I know a lot of you do, and you see my work, and the vast majority of it, like probably 90% of the work that I do, 100% of the client work that I do, and 90% of the work that I do for myself is artificial light. So, oh, nice. Jeremy's using speed lights. Very good. So what I wanted to do is I just wanted to talk through artificial light. When it comes to food photography specifically, there are a lot of folks who shoot natural light, and natural light is absolutely beautiful. But there are reasons that I shoot artificial. And so I wanted to kind of talk through that and certainly answer any Q&A that you guys have, because I remember when I've been shooting for a number of years, but I remember when I wanted to start shooting artificial light and I thought, oh my gosh, this is probably like an entirely different world. Like it's going to be so hard to learn. Like, what do I need to know for gear? How does this change things? And so I felt like there wasn't a lot of great resources immediately available that were like a one-stop shop of like what I needed to buy, what I needed to have, what was the setup, how does it change my images? I just couldn't find a good one-stop shop for that. So I want to be able to answer some of those questions for you here, and then make a fun announcement at the end. So very good. I know I'm live. How exciting! Good. So what I first want to talk about, and as you have questions, feel free to shout them out. Looks like we're getting a lot of the, hey, what's up? Welcome to the party. But definitely, as you have questions, feel free to throw those in. Now, Nevin has been waiting patiently, so I will definitely answer Nevin's question here to start. He says, do you use reflectors? So in terms of like the shiny reflectors, I do for artificial lighting with speed lights inside my softbox umbrella. It has a reflective surface on the inside. Otherwise, in terms of just general reflectors, I don't particularly use like the silver or gold, like metallic surfaces, but I do a lot of bouncing with white cards. I've got, those nice little foldable white bounce cards, but I also just use tons of white poster boards. So I do use reflectors to fill in the shadows, to help direct the light, to definitely manage the lighting. All right, let's see. Let's go ahead and first talk about continuous versus flash, because this is probably one of the most popular questions that I get when I just in the various day-to-day of my social media life. A lot of people want to know, why would you use continuous versus flash? And clearly a lot of you who are already shooting speed lights and shooting flash photography already know this, but it is just a greater degree of control and predictability. I started shooting artificial light because I am a mom to two little boys, and their prime times are when the sun is out. And so the sun wasn't necessarily immediately available to me to just do my food photography. So I needed a solution in order to shoot any time of the day or night. And so then people ask, well, how do you decide between artificial and in terms of speed lights versus strobes versus LED lights, your continuous light source versus your flash light source? And so for me, I have both. You probably have seen, if you visited my gear page, I use my LEDs all the time. I'm actually using them right now to light my face. So I have a Westcott LED flex mat. It's a 2x2, 2 foot by 2 foot. It's gorgeous. It's gigantic. It covers the spectrum just in terms of the color quality. It's a gorgeous light. And I definitely get a lot of comments on my videos and whenever I use it in photographs. People love it. It does an amazing job replicating artificial light, because that's one of those misconceptions people, I think, have, is that artificial light looks artificial, but the technology today is absolutely phenomenal. But here's the thing with that LED light, which I love, and it's great because I can use it for still photography, which I love to do, but then I also use it for video, because clearly I make a lot of YouTube videos and I also do videos for clients, and so having a really nice, reliable light source. But here's the thing with LED lights, is that my Westcott LED flex mat, it's about a $2,000 light, which, I mean, I have already gotten my money's worth and more out of a piece of equipment, but definitely cost prohibitive for anybody just getting started. And people say, well, can I get less expensive LED lights? And absolutely you could. But some things to watch out for is that less expensive LEDs can sometimes have a green cast to them, which is okay if you are just using them by themselves. But if you're combining them with daylight or any other light sources, primarily daylight, then you might have some real issues with your color correction, because you've got, those two different colors going on. And so you want to be careful of that green cast that you can get out of less expensive LED lights. And the other thing is, for LED lights with video, this is more of an older LED thing, and less expensive ones can sometimes have a flicker issue. So again, you don't see any flicker going on. So yeah, Raphael, I know, $2,000, so expensive. I worked a lot of shoots and saved up a long, long time for this light. But again, it's something that I use every single day and is valuable for my business and where I'm at. But that is clearly not reasonable for the folks who I teach here on YouTube and Instagram, and the folks that I coach. It's just not like, do not, if you are just getting started in food photography, do not run out and think that this is going to save the day, because it's not. Because there are other less expensive solutions, such as speed lights. And that's why I've recently really gotten into speed lights, because I wanted to come up with a solution that was less expensive, something that you could get in the door for less than $200, and have an artificial light solution. And speed lights are wonderful for that. The other advantage, so speed lights being a flash-based photography, a flash. So, here's one right here, right? Got one right here. Got the little young Nuo. These guys are great, inexpensive, little rock stars. You hook it up to your camera and, oh, it didn't work because I didn't turn it on. I'm just addicted to the poof that the xenon makes when it zips through the, here, let's get this little guy all turned on. Are you turned on? Oh, here it goes. Oh! What was I saying? Sorry, I'm very easily distracted. But I love flash because it is definitely getting a unit like this much less expensive than a $2,000 LED lighting mat, which again just depends on your budget and your uses and things like that. But this flash unit is great from an affordability standpoint. But I love flash because you have ultimate control. So I was on a shoot yesterday. If you guys follow me on Instagram, saw some of the behind the scenes. I was shooting at a restaurant, and that restaurant has super duper orange lights, like so many restaurants, right? You walk in and you're like, this food smells amazing, but gosh, this lighting is horrendous, right? Like those hard overhead lights that are all orangey. And so of course, that's what's going on there. So what's the advantage is being able to shoot with flash is that you can overpower those lights based on being able to, based on understanding how flash works, is that you're able to overpower those light sources and really be able to create beautiful light no matter where you are. And really deal with difficult lighting scenarios. So that, whereas had I used an LED panel, I still couldn't block out the bad light that was in that restaurant. So I'll get more into that a little bit later. But I love using flash from that regard. It just gives me ultimate control. So real quick, let's jump in. Oh my gosh, so many questions, so many questions. Do, 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 do. Awesome. Melinda's worked with artificial lighting, constant lighting. Nevin's using the constant. Very good. How are the COB LED lights? Gantz Tech Nerd, I am not familiar with those, but certainly if anybody else has some experience with those, feel free to weigh in. Your chocolate's disappearing, Rob? You mean you're eating it? Well, that is an occupational hazard, right? I was shooting some dumplings yesterday and I kept eating them. Ali wants to know, can I use more than one light source? So absolutely. For the most part, I tell people to start simple. And a lot of the folks that I work with are just starting out in food photography. And so I say, keep it simple and keep it to one light. Once you feel comfortable with that, and once you really have a grasp of that, then you can start introducing additional angles of light, like coming in from different angles. I was shooting salad for a client the other day, and it was definitely much more of like a product shoot for some packaging, for some dried fruit. And so the salad, in terms of the lighting setup, I had a light source coming in from the side to kind of the large, big light source in a softbox hitting the front and the side. But then I just had nice little kind of like kick light in the back, just picking up some nice little highlights on the back of the lettuce. But again, that comes in time and experience. And so definitely getting started, I generally recommend starting with one light source, manipulating that with bounce cards, and then taking it to the next level. Question is it okay to use other people's work and recreate it with personal touches, or do you consider it plagiarizing art? Well, there is a wonderful book called, what is it? Great Artists Steal. I will have to look it up. I'll be sure to link it after this. It's a really great book just about the idea that, there's kind of nothing new under the sun, right? Especially in food photography. If you can come up with something that is a uniquely original concept and idea in food photography, more power to you. But, we're definitely taking inspiration from all sorts of places. And I think that especially if you're just getting started and you're just starting to figure out what's your style, it is a wonderful practice to, take somebody's work and not recreate it verbatim necessarily. I mean, you can do that just as an exercise, but definitely take what you like about that image and try to recreate it. Like I do this all the time when I'm shooting something and I'm like, I just can't mentally wrap my mind around like what that should look like. Like I need to shoot a cake. And so what are some really great ideas for how I can shoot cake? And so finding some inspirational images in order to create from, and definitely taking, cues from the lighting or the composition or the color palette. I mean, those are definitely great things. When I first got started, and I think a lot of folks probably do this, and you're probably familiar with like Dennis the Prescott, I just would sit and study his images and go, how did he do that? How did he achieve that lighting? How did he set up that composition? And definitely, like, if you look through some of my archives, there's some images you're like, she's just ripping off Dennis, which totally true. I was on a shoot yesterday, and there's a photographer who I love, and she does a lot of like takeout restaurants and things like that. She's got some really unique work, and it's like, I really like the way she does the lighting. And so I tried some different things, and I don't think that's bad at all. And I mean, I see people recreate my images every day, and I take that as just the biggest form of flattery that somebody was so inspired by that work to go off and to try it themselves. So I think that's a good thing. But at some point, you definitely got to like get to a point where you're like knowing what's your style, and really rocking that out. But I think you have to go through a lot of different styles, try on a lot of different hats before you get there. So Brandon wants to know about modifiers. So a big thing when it comes to artificial light, and this is just in terms of the light source itself and the size of that light source, that is principles of lighting, right? The idea that the larger the light sources, the smaller the shadows will be, and that the closer that light source is, the smaller and the softer the shadows be. So when we're working with food, and it depends on the style you're trying to create, and the vibe and the energy, but certainly I personally always am of the thought that the larger the modifier, the better, just because you are going to be able to get those softer shadows, those smaller shadows. But again, you might want to go for something more hard and edgy. And so then a smaller modifier would work. But for me, bigger is better. My favorite modifier at the moment for my artificial lighting setup is a 47-inch softbox. So it's pretty large, and it's a round softbox. So I really, I dig it. I like it. It works for me. Yeah, Raphael, don't go out and get a divorce because you spent $2,000 on a light. That would not work out well. Oh, I love it. So Heidi wants to know about using a diffuser with the softbox. So I've got my softbox and I have thrown a diffuser. I have not, it's not beyond me to double and triple diffuse. I have definitely done that. It just depends on the situation, the subject, the lighting, what we're going for. And so, let's see, food photography. I'm just reading through some of the comments and questions. So, can I recommend a cost-effective artificial lighting solution, a softbox, or certain brand of lighting? So, in terms of lighting, and again, why I so got hardcore into speed lights recently is that I think they are such a great cost-effective solution. But there is a lot to know, right? Like I've already probably thrown out some terms that you're like, what is she talking about? Modifiers. And if you've not shot with artificial light before, especially for you, some of this could be is sort of a little confusing. So I have created a full course on flash photography, which I'm launching today. Are you guys excited? I'm excited because I wanted to bring you something. I mean, of course, I love sharing information on YouTube, my videos, which, you know, can be upwards of 20 minutes. And I'm like, how are you guys watching a 20-minute video? Heavens to Betsy. I love it. But I needed, in order to be able to really deliver the education when it comes to the foundations of flash photography, I needed something more expanded, something more long form. And so that's why I created a premium course offering that literally will take you through the gear, how to operate it, how it works, the philosophies of flash, the foundations of flash, and then how to modify that, how to change it, and some real life lighting scenarios. So what I'm gonna do, drop this in here. And what I have done along with this, so this is the access to the pre-sale for the course if you're interested. If you have not been shooting with flash photography and you have wanted to get into it and you wanted to try this out, this course, it is only 76 minutes in total. It's 12 videos that are 76 minutes because I thought, nobody needs to watch 40 videos. We need to keep this simple. You guys don't have a lot of time, right? So that is the link to the course. And then as far as what gear, there's then a link. If you go to that page that I just dropped in, if you go further down the page, there's a link to recommended artificial lighting gear for flash photography. And it's got 3 different sections. It's got speed lights, kind of at different price points and different, just in terms of like what you're looking for, as well as the different cameras. Right now I've got Canon, Sony, and Nikon listed there, but certainly if you've got something else and need some other recommendations, feel free to holler at me. But so that is all in there, as well as then just sort of a quick sort of run through of who's this course for, who's it not for. So definitely go check it out. I would love to have you part of the course. The other advantage of this course, if you decide to opt into it, is that you have lifetime access to it. So as I continue to release new elements to that course, expand the information, you have continued access to that. But then also there is a private Facebook group. And this is, to me, like the full value of it. Because if you buy one of my courses, like you actually spend real live money, to have me teach you, I want to make sure you learn it. And so there is a Facebook group that's going to be a special flash photography bite shot Facebook group that you become a part of, where then we are sharing our work, we are sharing our frustrations. You can get actual help, like, hey, this is not working. I need assistance. That's what I needed. I thought back to when I first started shooting artificial light, and I was just like, I felt like so helpless. I didn't know where to go and who to talk to. So this is providing a community in order to ask those questions, to get that help, as well as get encouragement, because that's the other thing. You know, how many of us are notorious for buying a course and then not finishing it? So I want to see everybody who opts into this course to actually finish it, because again, It's not long. It's not super wordy. It's very straightforward, very foundational. It's not a lot of mumbo jumbo. It's practical, especially great for folks who are not numbers oriented, who are more artistic and creative like myself from that regard. Like numbers scare the crap out of me. So walking through it like that. So let's once again just drop that in there so you can go check it out. So what should be the setup for light for food photography with 2 light sources, a softbox on a stand? Well, it totally depends. It depends on your subject, right? It depends on what you're shooting and what kind of lighting you're trying to accomplish. Something that a lot of folks will do is they will put a larger light source off over to the side to kind of illuminate the most of the space, and then something kind of off behind to get kind of, you know, when we talk about portrait photography, like that little rim light coming off the top of the head, you can do the same thing with the food, but it depends on the food, because if you've got pancakes, that may or may not work depending on how tall your stack is, or if you're doing an overhead shot, or what's your angle of approach. So much of that totally depends, but that is all stuff that we go through in the course. So let's see. Seafood would be a good photo theme. There you go. Sharp edge shadows drive you crazy, but you're learning a lot. Oh, good, Heidi. So that's exactly, and that's a lot, again, sort of some of those foundational concepts of how to control your shadows, how to control the lights. Definitely, I've covered a lot of that in videos on this channel, but also covered in the course. Let's see, what other questions do we have? What should you do to get food photography contracts from restaurants? Well, I would say start by contacting some restaurants. Definitely, I have a free ebook, which you can grab. I'll be sure to link it in this video after. It's also linked on pretty much every video I've done. Just some recommendations of how to get started, how to book your first gig. And so that is very restaurant specific. So feel free to grab that free ebook. It's 4 steps to booking your first photography gig. So just go to the description of pretty much any of my videos and you'll find that. I'll also link it in the description of this video once this one is all done. Is there a discount for Patreon patrons? Patrons. So there is, the current pricing for the course is $145 US dollars. So that price will only be in effect for the next 7 days or 6 days. Let's see, until Wednesday. Once we hit Wednesday, then the price goes into the regular price of $185. So right now, this is the discount. This is the lowest it will ever be. I'm not going to do some sort of like continuing to discount it ongoing, because I definitely believe in the value of this course. I have put a lot of work into it to ensure that it is the maximum amount of helpful. So it is $145 today and through next Wednesday. Is Wednesday the 1st? I should really pay attention to dates. I believe Wednesday is the 1st. Let's see. Yep, through Wednesday, August 1st. That is the price. From now until then is $145. After that, it goes up to $185. And then too, as the course continues to get more modules moving forward in the future, you know, adding on additional different types of modifiers and additional types of lighting scenarios and multiple lighting scenarios. I mean, you know, the list goes on how deep you can dive into the flash photography world. So that course will only continue to get more expensive the more content that gets added to it. So definitely check it out. Any questions you have about it, I am happy to answer. Emily, I'm so glad you're hooked on artificial light. If you had to shoot for a restaurant, what kind of lights would you take? So Rory, that's a great question. I actually just shot a restaurant yesterday. It was a Thai restaurant, and they have horrible lighting. I mean, it looks nice as a dining patron of the restaurant, but as far as, you know, showing up and being a photographer, it's a horrible lighting. It's all yellow and hard and orange. And so what I brought, I kept it pretty simple, but it's also a very small restaurant, so there was not a lot of space to work, and we were working in the afternoon, so it was probably, I got there 2 o'clock, and we were wrapped by 5. It's much more of a lunch kind of place, but I set up my 47-inch round softbox with the diffusion material, and that was kind of propped to the side. You can actually see, if you go over to my Instagram and look at the behind the scenes, you can see some of the behind the scenes shots in my Instagram stories. So I had that like right up against then the work surface, and then That was pretty much it. I did use some bounce cards, but they also really, like from an energy and vibe standpoint, wanted something a little more modern, a little more edgy. And so just having a single light source with some more pronounced shadows on the other side was really what they were going for. So I didn't need a ton of different lights. So I brought my one speed light. I brought some backup speed lights just because it's always good to have backups when you are working on site for a client and they, have a food stylist and there's a lot of time and energy put into it, into the preparation. So you don't want the gear to fail on you. So I had some backup speed lights as well, but I only needed one light for that setup. So that worked. All right. Oh, Eric, I'm so excited. We're going to have some fun. I cannot wait. Oh, Chris. Hey, Chris. It's Zoom, Chris. This is what's fun, is seeing you guys here. Carrie-Ann, you're in. I love it. I love seeing you guys that I see you on Instagram and then I see you over here and your names are slightly different because Chris in Creative here is Zoom Chris, right? Over on Instagram. I love that you keep your faces, the pictures similar so I can identify you. Any suggestions on using LED panel lights for a photo shoot? So I definitely, great question. I love using my LED panel and I've used it on plenty of shoots on location. I definitely recommend though, if you are using that, to know the setup and the scenario, I would recommend using that in a situation where you're not going to be having to deal with a lot of intense overhead lights. So, generally if I'm shooting in a restaurant and they have got a bunch of tungsten overhead lights, I'll generally have them turn those off. Again, reasons that I like flash, because then I don't have to worry about that. But the LED panel, the light will look better if I'm not competing with tungsten lights. But then I do love to combine it with, if there's some windows, like there's this resort that I shoot at sometimes, and they have these beautiful picture windows overlooking like this green grass and all of these, cactus and different greenery. And so it's really nice to have that set in the backdrop, the natural light kind of backlighting the food subject, and then additionally supplementing that then with an LED light off to the side. But again, it's a very large LED light. So that's again, large light source helps for better shadows, better lighting. All right, let's see. Oh, we just received a flash ad. Exciting. I love it. I'm so glad you like the Patreon page. I've been having fun with that. It's definitely much more of a like relaxed and low key situation over there. So I'm glad you're enjoying that. Food styler or your imagination to get a better shot? Are you saying, Hector, are you asking, do you need a food stylist to get a better shot? Is that what you're asking? If you can confirm that. Let's see. You'll be Zoom Chris forever. You are going to be Zoom Chris forever. The softbox size matters only with speed lights? No. So Edgar, here's what's the fun part is that light, whether it's gigantic. This is my gigantic diffuser here. Let's just show you. So I've got the LED panel behind it, which you can see right up over there, right? There's the LED panel behind it, which that's 2 foot by 2 foot. So just to give you perspective, how giant that diffuser is. Oh my God, it's a giant diffuser. But you can see, just looking at my face, it's creating some nice, soft, even lighting because it's a large light source close to the subject. So that's going to create some really nice flattering light, which is, what I'm generally going for in terms of style, which is generally what my clients are asking for in terms of style. So yeah, larger the light source, the smaller, the softer the shadows. Make sense? Makes sense? All right, let's see. Is a blog or a portfolio website more important for food photographers starting out? Now, I'm sure there's lots of different opinions on this, but I would personally say that a portfolio is more important because you can always sell yourself with a portfolio, whereas a blog, individual blog post, you can send an individual blog post, but it's not going to give the full breadth and depth of your ability. So I would definitely recommend getting the portfolio up and then supplementing that with blog stuff. But if it were me, because I'm all about keeping life simple, right? Because I got too much to do. If I was just starting out in photography and thinking of where should I put my stuff, I would create an online portfolio. Just keep it simple, like, 12 to 20 images max. You don't want like a ton of stuff because you got to think whoever you're sending this portfolio to, how long are they going to scroll, right? Having a good variety of options just in terms of like showing dark and moody and light and airy and stuff that showcases your skills, but, you know, maybe show some range because, you know, I get hired by clients who want all variety of different kinds of styles. So I would have a portfolio and then I'd have an Instagram account. And that would be where I would start. I wouldn't necessarily, because blogs take a lot of work, take a lot of energy. And, you know, it's one of those things of like, oh, I got to write a blog post, right? Anybody been there? So Instagram, where you can, you know, take some shots, upload them, tag people, and then start sharing them. I think that Instagram is an incredibly valuable resource for photographers today, especially just starting out. So I know, Edgar, isn't that a huge diffuser? It's kind of obscene. It's the size of an Arcadia door. So when I've got it up against my Arcadia sliding glass door, if I do shoot natural, it covers the whole thing. It's crazy. All right, let's see. 24 megapixels are enough for food photography. Absolutely, Chris. I think so. I think so. I'm trying to remember what this guy is. This is the 70D. This is what I started on. That's what I shot for the better part of, what, 3 years. Shot cookbooks with this. And I believe he's only 21 megapixels, if I'm not mistaken. So, and it's fun because for this course, which I'll just drop it in once more, my flash photography course right there, I shot the majority of the stills in that course because, again, I wanted to keep it simple and show the power of flash without fancy gear. I shot the majority of the stills for the course with the 70D. So it is a crop sensor camera. It's only, what, 20 some megapixels. I can't remember exactly how many. In the world of photography, a rather affordable camera, especially if you buy a body that's used, you know, you can get it for like $300. So great, definitely a great starting place. You can do a ton of work like there. The reason that I upgraded, honestly, to the 5D Mark IV had nothing, I mean, it was mainly because of megapixels, because I had taken on a client who wanted to use some of the images we had shot at their restaurant on a billboard, and it wouldn't scale. It just, I needed more megapixels to make it a larger resolution. And so that was sort of I lost a deal. And, you know, when you're a photographer and you lose a deal because your gear is not adequate. But again, that was after several years of working in the industry, working as a photographer, and coming into a situation then where I needed to be up on my work to be on a billboard. So now my work can be on a billboard. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question. Oh, exciting riverboat. Oh, a snoot. Now, do you guys know what a snoot is? I probably have one sitting around here somewhere. Let's see if I can find my snoot. Oh, I must have put it away. I got organized the other day and now I can't find anything. Oh, I found it. Hold on. It's the snoot. Here's my snoot. I used this, if you guys saw a couple weeks back, I did a picture of a tomatillo in just like a little pool of light. So you attach this onto the front of your speed light. So you got speed light, attach the snoot. And this little guy was like 20 bucks on Amazon. I love it when things are 20 bucks on Amazon. Attaches to the speed light. And then I've got the little grid, if you can see the grid here on it, which just helps break up the light a little bit more. Really capture some dimensionality in that light. And then, yeah, it's a really fun solution to really direct the light. That's how you get that like spotlight effect on food. Really great for dark food photography. And that's like a whole component of the Speedlights course, is going through the dark food photography stuff. I mean, we go through the light and airy and how to achieve that, but we also do how to set up your artificial lighting in order to get the dark and moody. Because Speedlights, honestly, have made that so much easier, because I need so much less black cards because I'm utilizing different modifiers. So let's see. Oh yeah, Chris, you're good. Let's see. Oh, riverboat, nice. Yours is a smaller opening. Yeah, that's the fun thing about snoots. I mean, there are all sorts of different shapes and sizes. You can make your own too with the black foil that video, folks in the cinema utilize. Natalie, I'm so glad to have you a part of it. And it's going to be fun too, because this course, I can't wait to have y'all in Facebook group and like get some real, like, because to me, it's about, you know, being there to root you on, because it can get frustrating if you've not worked with artificial light before, especially with Flash, and you've not done that before, it can get frustrating. So I can't wait to be there and help cheer you on. What's the snoot and grid you got on Amazon? So I have it linked on my gear page. Do I have it on my gear page? I might have to update my gear page. I can't remember if the snoot is there, but double check. JoniSimon.com, tools I use. If it's not there, I'll double check it after I get off here and make sure the snoot is there. But that is all of my gear. Oh, I don't know if it actually linked. So anyway, you can grab that URL. Nice, Jeremy. Yeah. That's the fun part about artificial light is all the different modifiers that you can throw at it. It can just, my strip softbox, that's another thing that I absolutely love. Again, something we go through in the course, but if you're not going to join the course and you want to know, definitely Google strip softbox. It's a lot of fun because you can create that real nice little beam of light. So choosing continuous lighting over a speed light. Can I get away with continuous lighting? Absolutely, you can, Philip. And definitely rewatch the beginning of this. We kind of went into that. But the real value of Flash is that you can overpower the ambient light that is in any situation for the most part. Especially if you're shooting indoors, you can overpower that ambient light and be able to create the lighting separate from what's going on. So if you are in a space with really awful orange lights, you can overpower those and use Flash then to light your subject. Whereas with a continuous light source, if you got ugly orange lights, you know, you can still put a beautiful light in there and still get really weird shadows. So a dog snout. The snoot looks like a dog snout. I kind of agree. Let's see. What else do we got? I love it. Great questions, you guys. Great questions. Oh, good question. Stuart wants to know, when you shoot for a restaurant, is there usually someone else who does the food styling, or do you do it yourself? So when it comes to shooting in a restaurant, like if I had my ideal, like I could design the perfect shoot, I would always have a food stylist with me. Now, I have said this before on the channel. I know enough about food styling to be dangerous. I do most of my own food styling when I'm here in my studio and I'm shooting for, food products, things like that. But when I can, when there's a budget in order to hire a stylist, I absolutely every time do. But especially for restaurants, it is super helpful to have a food stylist because, first of all, you're not in your regular environment, right? Like you have brought all of your gear somewhere else. And so you're already kind of off your game, right? Like you're just thinking about levels of focus. And so you're already kind of in a new environment, trying to adapt to the situation, especially in a restaurant where there might be customers still in the restaurant. It can be a hectic environment. And so things that are starting to pull your focus away. And the thing about food styling is that it's so much about the attention to detail. And if you're in a restaurant and you're trying to manage your gear and you're trying to shoot everything and you're worried about the camera and the lights and all those things and the composition and the setup, then, if you have somebody who can just keep an eyeball on making sure that the food looks good, or who can do that work for you while you're staging out the scene and preparing like camera angles and things like that. So I've got a food stylist that I work with here in Phoenix. She is phenomenal. We're going to do an interview with her in a couple weeks for an upcoming video. She has been a food stylist for over 20 years. So she has tons of experience. She's shot it all, in terms of the vast array of experiences. And she also has a background in culinary. Like many of the best food stylists have some sort of culinary degree or have worked in restaurants and really understand plating and the way food behaves and how to prepare it properly for the camera. But then they also understand the impact that the camera angle and lighting has on food. And so a great food stylist is invaluable, and definitely when there is budget available. But it also depends on the use of the images. Sometimes I have different restaurant clients who just need some quick images that they're going to use for social media, or they're going to use it maybe for some stuff in the newspaper, but we don't have to have like these elaborately styled setups or anything. Like, they just need stuff that's like down and dirty and simple. Then yeah, a food stylist isn't necessary. It also helps if you've got a chef who really knows what they're doing and can, plate a dish beautifully. But, when you've got a situation where maybe it's a to-go restaurant, or, you're going to be shooting for a magazine, or even their website, that those images and the styling needs to be stronger. So definitely food stylist is great. Do you have a styling toolbox that you bring to stage images in restaurants? Things like a clamp, makeup sponges? Absolutely, Jeremy. So I have like my crash kit. In my crash kit, I have those little makeup, like a lot of the things that you see in the 17 what is it, 17 tools for food styling video that I did. It's things like I've always got my glycerin and water mix, that 50-50 mix in the atomizer. I've always got tweezers. I've always got some lint-free paper towels or other towels that I like to use. I've also got those little makeup wedges to help prop the food. That's always in there. Some Q-tips sometimes too for little cleanup stuff. That's kind of the basics. And then just but then it also depends on, has there been a food stylist hired? All those different things. And so this is like a little sneak peek, because the flash photography course was kind of getting that done, because to me that's foundational. But I do have in the works a full course with all sorts of materials coming here in the fall, with all the details and everything you'd ever need to know, like literally the templates I use to communicate with clients, the like templates for checklists for what you need to pack, checklists for what you need to ask as you're starting to survey the client to find out what they're looking for, all the details. So that is definitely coming soon. So good questions. Have I ever considered doing workshops? I actually have. I just did a workshop in San Diego 2 weeks ago, and I'm actually going to be in Denver this weekend. Those though we sold these tickets back in April, and they sold out in about a week. Those though until we get into 2019. So the first part of the new year. This is a ways off, but for those of you in Europe, I've been in talks with Lauren from That's Sage. If you guys know her YouTube channel, amazing food photographer. We have been in chats, and she's based in Switzerland. And so I've been looking for an excuse to go to Switzerland. So there will probably be a European workshop in 2019. So stay tuned for that. Let's see. And there will probably be some other US ones coming up, but stay tuned. Dubai would be fun. That would be great. That would be great. I would love it. Let's see. Is there any food you wouldn't recommend using a speed light? No, I don't think so. If anybody food that you wouldn't want to shoot with a speed light, let me know, because you can always modify the light. You know what I mean? Like, if you're shooting something shiny, there's definitely ways in terms of the modifier that you're using and how you block the light, how you direct the light. So there's no food that I wouldn't shoot. Absolutely not. Let's see. Riverboat Media, you should look into doing a workshop on Creative Live. So here's a little story about Creative Live. I've bought many Creative Live courses. I love all of the ones that Steve Hansen has done. I'll put his name right here, Steve Hansen. He's actually the reason that I own my Westcott LED Flex mat. He's to blame for that. That's why I spent $2,000 on a light, was because of him. He has great courses on Creative Live. Here's the funny thing with Creative Live is some of the courses I love, some of the courses I do not love. So I bought the Speedlights course because I just curious, right? Just a little like fact finding. And the Speedlights course on Creative Live it's 40 videos, and it would take you like 2 days to complete. I'm like, this is shenanigans. Like, shooting flash is not that complicated. I mean, it's definitely a new way of thinking. There's definitely things you got to know, but you do not need 40 videos to get started. So that's why I created my course, because I was like, I can't find the course that I would want to take if I was starting out in food photography and flash photography for food. So that's why I created my course. So you can definitely go check it out. Got all the information there, some gear recommendations. Hopefully that helps you guys out. Let's see. Da, da, da. Let's see. Is the flash softbox you're using the octagon shaped one with the double diffusion material? So the flash softbox, yes. So the softbox that I'm using, I could probably bring it over here. We'll see. It only has one layer of diffusion, but what I do is I shoot into the reflective material. So I shoot into the umbrella because it's all lined with silver. And so that's kind of initial layer of diffusion. And then I've got the diffusion material in front of it. I also do have a grid that I'll put on front of that, which will help make the light more directional and really define shadows more. So hopefully that answers the question. What types of clients did you approach in terms of scale when starting out in food photography? So here's what's funny, Cam, is that when I first started out, I mean, if you guys have seen my video, the eight things I didn't know when I took my first shoot, like so much of my photography career has been like showing up, doing the work, and then things happen that I may or may not be ready for. But you know, you think, oh, I'll start with small clients. One of my very first clients was Tyson Foods. Like, what? I was shooting corn dogs for them, and then they liked the shots I did, and then I did a whole taquitos shoot for them. They were all for what were they for? They were for like schools and for marketing materials that they were doing in schools as well as convenience stores. So I mean, very bizarre shoot, but there I got a lot of corn dogs out of that. That was it was like a giant case of corn dogs shows up in my house. But that happened because I had posted some pictures online of a parfait I had made with Sara Lee pound cake, which you're like, okay, what's the connection there? I had taken these pictures with the Sara Lee pound cake, posted a recipe with it. And then the people who handle the PR and marketing for Sara Lee pound cake then also have relationships with Tyson Foods. That when you get into the world of food brands, especially, it's kind of a small world. There's a lot of PR agencies who handle multiple food clients. So generally, like if you start working with one and you do good work, they'll have you work with their other clients. So that's a great avenue to pursue, is the various PR companies. But you're like, well, how do I find the PR company? I find social media is a great place to do that. And so whether that is just direct messaging through their Facebook. And I think that's actually what I did. If I'm thinking back to the Sara Lee pound cake one, I created these images, created this recipe, shared it online, had Sara Lee pound cake in it. And then I sent a message via Facebook to Sara Lee pound cake, like just their general website, like their general Facebook page, sent a message and said, hi, I created this recipe. It's got Sara Lee pound cake in it. You know, feel free to share if you'd like. And then, you know, I can't remember how much longer it was, but I feel like it was a couple months after that, they reached out and said, hey, our friends over at Tyson Foods need some food shots of some corn dogs. Can you send us your pricing? And I'm like, oh my God, because they liked the images enough. They were convinced from the images I had already shared. So, so that was crazy, right? That somebody who's just barely starting out in food photography is getting hired by Tyson Foods. That was kind of crazy. But definitely too, I started networking with local restaurants here in Phoenix. And I would say I have a ton of restaurant connections at this point. And so that continues to serve me well. Yeah, so hopefully that helps. How do you work the sharpness of images in post-production? Are you asking for me personally? I mean, I think that's like a whole like course in and of itself, all about sharpness. For me, I mostly just try to really nail it when I'm shooting it. I've got my video all about shooting, ensuring sharpness when you're actually shooting, because you can't accentuate sharpness in an image. I mean, you can, but as far as really making it tack sharp, so much of that has to do with the shooting portion of it. And so I've got a video on my channel. You can go check it out, just all about how to operate your lens in manual versus autofocus, and to really ensure that tack sharp focus. Cam, I'm so happy. Oh, so how do you work when shooting hot Mexican food plates when melting cheese or sour cream before it slumps? Oh, story of my life. I've actually shot a lot of Mexican food because I'm here in Arizona, so there's a lot of Mexican food restaurants. So the trick is, and the trick with a lot of stuff, even, you know, the trick is that they have the majority of the dish done. And you have the setup all staged, right? Like you've got your mock dish in place, you've got the camera set, you know where the shot's going to happen, you've more or less got it all planned out. And then usually I'll have then them do the cheese because they need to usually put it under the salamander or something in order to get that melty. But bring the sour cream and guacamole and any other like cilantro, anything else that will fade fast, bring that out in separate bowls. And I or the food stylist will apply that then in the moments before taking the shot. You got to treat it just like ice cream because it's going to go. All right. So great question about Stuart. Want to know, does it take you longer to dial in the shot with the speed light versus constant light since you can't see the lighting without it taking a shot? So that is definitely something that is a challenge. And I go through that in the course, like just what are some of the different solutions to help work with that. But I don't have it up here right now. It's actually all set up over there. But for my Canon, I'm using the 600EX-RT speed light along with, I can't remember the model, but it's got the radio trigger that then is on my camera, and it has the ability to do like an exposure compensation preview in the LCD. So as long as I've got the speed light all rigged up, even if I am blocking out the ambient light, again, for those of you who know nothing about flash and are like, what is she talking about? Just sign up for the course. The course will help you. But there's this exposure compensation. But again, that is a more expensive speed light solution. I believe the 600 EXRT with the thing is like $600 versus the Yongnuo, which is $200. So there's some other workarounds that that I've got included, but generally it's either set, maybe have some additional light that you're shining on the scene in order to kind of overpower whatever your baseline exposure is for that ambient exposure, or you just change the shutter speed as you're starting to set up the scene, dial it back down and jump into the shoot. Again, if that makes no sense to people, just sign up for the course. No light meter. Brandon, I don't use a light meter. Is that so ridiculous? I know plenty of people are probably like, you are crazy, you don't use a light meter. But I have personally, I have my method. I know generally where I need to have my speed light. I've got the experience at this point, but I kind of establish the baseline at 1/32 power on the speed light, and then I rock and roll. And then I see where I need to adjust and make changes. And I just find that I bought a light meter, but it was just adding time to my process. I was quicker just rocking in manual, being able to figure out what I needed to do, make the adjustments, and rock and roll. And so that's how I teach the course, is how to make those decisions. And I don't know, didn't want to spend the extra money to, I was like, I don't need this thing. So I returned it. Let's see. So Stephanie, great question. Is the course for beginners? The course, here's my input, is that it is definitely for folks who have not been shooting artificial light before. It's going to be a great, like literally taking you from turning the speed light on to walking through all the various settings. And again, you get all the support you need in the Facebook group, depending on which speed light you buy and helping make sure you've got it communicating. But there is one assumption going into the course, and it's outlined here on the course website, is that you do understand the basics of how to operate a camera in manual, that you understand the idea of aperture, ISO, and shutter speed, and how those three things work together in order to create an exposure. That as long as you understand that foundation, then you're great. Then you're totally good. But if you literally just picked up your first camera last week and you're like, what is an aperture? Then I would definitely recommend checking out my Foundations for Food Photography course. It is the first 5 videos that are on this channel, the very first 5 videos, how to shoot a camera in manual. Once you feel comfortable there, then you will be totally ready to rock. Because again, I take you from start to finish. I would say this class is also not helpful for people who have been shooting speed lights and flash, because you kind of already have a sense of how to operate these things. This is very foundational stuff. So yeah, Cool beans. All right, I got to jump over to Instagram here in like 2 minutes. So I'm going to do 2 minutes less. Okay, so Philip wants to know, how is the lighting course delivered? Is it at a physical location or you access it online? It is an online course. So if you go here, then what happens, once you've signed up, you will get a link and the class is available as of August 1st. So this is pre-sale right now. Pre-sale is at $145 US dollars. Once we get to August 1st, the course will be live. You will have full access to it, all 12 modules with all the videos, all the course materials, all the worksheets. And it's an online access, which you will have lifetime access to forever and for always. So as I continue to update the course, add additional modules, additional materials, you will always have access to it. And you can rewatch videos over if you've missed anything. So hopefully that helps, but yeah, it is not at a physical location. So yeah, you sign up there, you get in, and then as of August 1st, once the pre-sale is closed, August 1st, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, then the course goes up to $185. And this is the cheapest it will ever be. I will do sales in the future, but I will never be back at the $145 price. This is the cheapest. This is like I'm launching the first one. Let's be excited. Let's price this low, because I, again, also wanted everybody to be able to have access to and afford it. And that's the thing. If you want to get into shooting restaurants, I highly recommend shooting with flash, because restaurants are very unpredictable environments in terms of lighting. And so if you are able to book a gig because now you can shoot flash, that in and of itself pays for the course. And again, you get specialized preferred access in the private Facebook group too, where I will help you out and make sure you rock this. Okay. You bet, Tatiana. All right. So I'm going to head on over to Instagram. If we're going to have the whole same conversation again over on Instagram, because I got to tell them the course is available, just like I got to tell you guys. But hopefully this also answered some questions that you had regarding artificial light. And of course, if you have anything, just let me know. I promised you I would link some things after this. We'll see if I remember what those were. Oh, the ebook. I'll make sure to link the ebook after we're done here, and then make sure the snoot is also on my gear page. Okay. You got it. You got it. Yes, Brandon, that's coming. Stay tuned. Acquiring clients, business relationships. You got it. No problem. Chris, good to see you. Victor, great to see you all. Take care. Thanks for hanging out with me. You guys are the best. Bye.